What is up guys, this is LockYGO and welcome back to the channel, and today guys I'm bringing you my Speed Duel Sacred Beast Hamon Turbo deck profile. And guys, let me tell you, this deck is actually way better than I initially thought, because when I was starting to test with this deck I had not very high hopes for the deck itself, but then after playing some matches with it I have actually started getting a few wins against some very strong meta decks and actually found this deck really fun to play and way more competent than I would think at first. So this deck actually surprised me quite positively. So, without any further ado, let's just get right into the deck profile itself. And we start, as always, with the skill, and this time it's Kagemaro, and this time I have to read the back part of the skill as it has an important effect. So, it says that at the start of the duel, you can place this card face down in your center spell and trap zone, and keep in mind guys, from that point on, this card can be destroyed as a spell or trap. And you will draw one less card at the beginning of the duel. That is a trade-off for a future effect. Then, at the start of your first turn of the duel, this card will get flipped over. And when it does get flipped over, you can actually search for one Sacred Beast from your deck to your hand. In this case, you will be searching for Hamon. Then this skill has an extra effect that allows you to discard one card in order to special summon one Fiend monster with 0 attack and defense from your graveyard. But that effect will not come up as we do not play any targets for this effect. That's all for the skill, and now we move on into the main deck itself. We start with legendary Hamon, Lord of the Striking Thunder, at 2 copies. If we were playing the other skill, which is Unlocking the Power, we would be playing 3 copies of it, but since we can search it most of the time with our skill, considering it doesn't get destroyed before it, we can actually afford to play 2 copies of him only. Moving on, we play triple copies of Crystal Beast Sapphire Pegasus. And guys, I know you're probably confused, some of you might be at least, why am I playing a Crystal Beast on this deck? So basically, when this card is summoned, you can get one copy of any Crystal Beast and put it from your hand, deck or graveyard into the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. And that's really important because if you guys didn't know, Hamon requires you to tribute 3 continuous spells you control. So basically, this counts as both a normal summon with very decent attack and one continuous spell in your spell and trap zone for your Hamon summon, making this for a very good card to play in this deck. And next, we also play Double Breaker, the Magical Warrior. So he's here just with the intent of destroying your opponent's back row, but we only need to play 2 copies as we don't wanna fill this deck with too many monsters because we just wanna see as many spells as possible to tribute for the Hamon. So Breaker just basically functions as a destroyer for your opponent's back row because our deck sometimes is weak to that. Moving on into the rest of the monsters, we play just 2 more copies of Sphere Kuriboh to defend ourselves for threats your opponent might have. And that's all for the monsters. Like I said, a small monster package because we want to play more continuous spells. And talking of continuous spells, we start with the field spell, which is Fallen Paradise, and even though I mentioned continuous spells, this does not count as a continuous spell. But even though it doesn't count as a continuous spell, this card is insane because it gives you protection to your Hamon from targeting and from destruction by card effects. And the bonus added effect, which is simply amazing, that allows you to once per turn draw 2 cards if you control Hamon and discard on the field. So this card is very strong in this deck. Moving on, we play triple copies of Cerulean Skyfire, and this card is insane. And why is that, you ask? Well, because you can tribute your face down spells as a continuous spell to summon Hamon while this card is on the field. Also, it has a very strong effect that while you control an attack position Hamon, you can actually negate any spell or trap your opponent activates by switching your Hamon to defense position. And guys, if you didn't know, Hamon, while in defense position, protects all of your other monsters from attacks, so your opponent has to attack Hamon and he cannot choose any other monsters for attack. By the way guys, let me also add that the final effect of Hamon is that when he destroys a monster by battle, you can inflict 1000 damage to your opponent, so this card puts a lot of pressure on your opponent's field. And moving on guys, we play triple copies of Different Dimension Gate, and guys, let me be honest with you, I did not like this card at the beginning, but after testing it out, I just love this card. It's insane, because it basically says that you can activate this card by targeting one monster on each field, and you'll banish those targets. Then if these cards get destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can return those banished monsters to the field in the same battle positions they were in. Spoiler alert, that will usually never happen. Why? Because most of the time you will be normal summoning your Crystal Beast or your Breaker, using their effects, get what you need off of them, and then activate this and get rid of one of their monsters together with the monster you just summoned, and then you'll tribute all of your spells to summon Hamon and try to OTK your opponent from there. So this card is actually pretty insane in this deck. Moving on, we play as the last continuous spells in the deck, double copy of Backup Squad, as we want to still have more continues to tribute for Hamon, and this card has the bonus added effect of every time you take 1000 damage or more, you will draw a card for every 1000 damage you took. So this card is here with just the use of getting tributed and to get you some extra draws because you will need them. And finally, I just play one copy of Mystical Space Typhoon, and yes, I could be playing one more breaker instead of this, but the reason I play Mystical Space Typhoon instead of a third breaker is because it's a spell, and if you have Cerulean Skyfire on your side of the field, you can tribute it while face down as a continuous spell to summon your Hamon into the field. And that is all for the main deck, guys, and now we move on into the extra and side deck. So the extra is not relevant as we don't play Waking the Dragon, it's just to make your opponent think that we might be playing it. So we move on right into the side deck, guys, and we start with triple Galaxy Cyclone, just as some added removal and to do the same purpose as Mystical Space Typhoon while face down, which is to get tributed for the Hamon while you have Cerulean Skyfire on your side of the field, and while Galaxy Cyclone is in a graveyard, you can actually banish this card to destroy one face-up spell or trap your opponent might have. So it's a double effect card that might come up a lot. Next we play one Offerings to the Doom and double copies of Hammer Shot as some monster removal because this deck actually needs a little bit of it. And guys, they are all spells exactly for what I said before, same as Mystical Space Typhoon, because with this Cerulean Skyfire on your side of the field, you can set the cards and tribute them for your Hamon if you need to. So guys, here is the entire deck list for you guys, just in case you guys wanna copy and go try it out for yourselves, which I strongly recommend you guys do, because this deck is way better than I would think initially. So this deck has a lot of potential, is really fun to play and all that stuff, and because of that, it makes it for a very worth deck for you guys to give a shot. So I advise you guys to try it out in the future. Anyway guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, maybe even subscribe to the channel, and if you have a specific deck that you would like to see me profile in the future, feel free to comment down below as I read all of your comments, and I will try my best in the future to bring you a deck profile for the deck you guys ask about. So do not be shy and feel free to comment down below what deck you would like to see in the future. So guys, like always, I hope you guys enjoyed, and this is LockYGO, and I'll see you on the next video.